Hi dear students, today we will have the revision of poem number 2, The Cold Within by James Patrick Kinney, and poem number 5, Television, written by Roald Dahl. Here in the first poem, The Cold Within, written by James Patrick Kinney, the main themes discussed in this poem are the cold within and holding on to sin. We have already gone through the poem, and when we go through the poem we will understand that there are 6 humans and they are trapped in a bitter cold or extreme cold, and the speciality is that each of them, these 6 human beings, they were possessing one stick in their hand, and this stick, it represents or symbolizes human sin. So in this poem we can find that 6 human beings are trapped in a bitter cold, and in their hand there is a stick. And another important thing we can notice that there is a dying fire. Okay, these 6 human beings, they are in a bitter cold and they are sitting around a dying fire. And as you know, dying fire needs logs or sticks, otherwise what will happen? The dying fire will burn out. So these 6 human beings, they are supposed to put their stick into the fire, and in this poem we will notice what they do, what these human beings do, whether they are ready to put the stick into the fire or whether they are keeping the fire with them. In the second stanza of the poem we will understand the first person. Out of these 6 human beings, the first person is discussed in the second stanza, and we will come to know that she is a white woman, and she notices, okay, out of these 6 human beings he notices that one person is a black person, so she is not ready to put her stick into the fire. So there we can find a clear case of racial discrimination. So she is having the prejudice of racial discrimination, so that is the sin that the girl was possessing. As I told, the stick represents the sin, and this woman, this girl is having the sin of racial prejudice because she finds a black man and she is not ready to sacrifice his logs for a black person. And in the third stanza we will find that there is a particular religious person. He has got his own religion, and he notices that there is another person. Out of these 6 person, one person is not belong to his religion, so he is not ready to put his stick into the fire. So he notices one person is not from his religion, so he is not ready to put the stick into the fire. And here what we can find: religious intolerance, the discrimination based on religion we can find, and that is the sin the second person is having. And the third one, it is a poor person, and about the character and the very appearance of the poor person it is given, and it is he is having the tattered clothes, and even that poor person, he is not ready to put the stick into the fire. Why? Because he finds a rich person, and he feels that the rich person, he gained all the things from exploiting the poor people, and he feels that why should he sacrifice his log in order to warm up the rich person. So he also not ready to put the stick into the fire. And here what kinds of sins we can notice: the hatred and envy towards the rich person, and the mental tightness, not ready to help other person, and there is no generosity for other person. So these all are the sins possessed by the poor person. In the fifth stanza, we can find the fourth person, and who is he? He is a rich person, and even that rich person, he is not ready to help the other person. Why? Because he finds that out of the 6 people, there is one poor person, and he doesn't want to help the poor. Why? Because he feels that the poor person is a lazy person, and the things that he achieved throughout his life, it is not for the poor people, but it is for his own pleasure and his own enjoyment. And he just wanted to keep away all the things that he earned from the lazy poor. Here also we can find the sin of greed, lack of generosity, and this rich person, he is very greedy person. And when you come to the sixth stanza, we will find the fifth person. Who is he? He is a black person. Earlier we had noticed him, and the white person, he was not ready to sacrifice his log or stick for this black person. Now it is the chance of the black person, and what he will do here, the black person also is not ready to put the stick into the fire, because he finds a chance to take revenge against the white people. So he feels that this is an opportunity to take revenge against the white people. So he also was not ready to put the stick into the fire. And what kind of sins this person is having? Hatred, spite, and ill will. So these all are the sins the black person is having. And in the seventh stanza we will find the sixth person. Actually he is not having any kind of religious or racial discrimination, but the problem is that he feels that no one is ready to put the stick into the fire, so why should he put the stick into the fire? So he just kind of, he is having the sin of selfishness and lack of generosity. He doesn't want to help any other person. Why? Because he feels that no one helped me, so why should I help other person? And in the last stanza we will find the result of these things. What is the result? These six human beings, they died in the morning. Why? Because of the extreme cold. And the poet says that it is not because of the extreme cold outside, but it is because of the extreme cold within their heart. These six human beings died. Why? Because if their heart were warm, then they could put the stick into the fire and they could save their lives. But they did not do, because their hearts were frozen, and because of that they were not ready to help others. And as I told, this poem, it gives so many symbolization, like the stick, it symbolizes what the human sin, and these six human beings, they were not free from their sinful life. They were not ready to free from their sinful life or sacrifice their sinful life, and because of that all these six human beings died. I hope that the poem is clear to you, and now you may please go through the poem in a careful manner. And in your workbook, stanza wise explanations are given, and the details about the poems are given, like poetic devices, the poem, the form, the rhyme scheme, and everything. So you may just go through, and the symbolization described in the poem, that also given in your workbook. Please go through and study well. And now we will have the revision of next lesson, that is television, written by Roald Dahl. Hi dear students, today we will have the revision of poem 5, television, written by Roald Dahl. Take page number 21. Television, written by Roald Dahl. It sharply criticized the habit of watching television. And this poem, it is a didactic poem. What is the meaning of didactic poem? It aims at giving instruction or a message to someone, and it speaks about the dangers. It gives instructions about the dangers of watching television for a long time. And the main themes discussed in this poem are watching television, the dangers of watching television. Then the second one, it is a death of imagination. It speaks about the death of imagination. Watching television for a long time by children, it causes the death of imagination. And the third theme, that is the promotion of habit of reading. So habit of reading should be promoted. The children, they should read books rather than watching television. So these all are the three themes discussed in the poem Television. This poem, it is written in a freestyle because the poet, he wants to give a message to the society. He is not emphasizing on any kind of poetic effects, but he wants to give a message. What is the message? Avoid watching television and read books more. And there are many poetic devices used in this poem, like personification, then apostrophe, metaphor, and the rhyming scheme also you have to go through. And the language of the poem, it is not something very difficult, but it is very easy, and it avoids all the figurative usages. And in some lines we can find the use of capital letters. Why the capital letters are used here in this poem? It is to give some importance, or in order to give emphasis, the poet uses the capital letters. The first line we can notice that the most important thing we have learned. There instead of I, the poet uses we. Why the poet uses the letter V here? Because he wants to say that it is not his personal opinion, it is the opinion of the society. So through this poem, Roald Dahl, he criticizes or he speaks about the dangers of television. And according to the poet or the society, the television always causes many dangers, and it causes the death of imagination to children, and even the parents, they allow their children to watch television because the parents think that it can give them some free time if they allow the children to watch the television, and it will help them to do their work without any distraction. But poet says, or poet sharply criticizes such a kind of behaviors from the parents, and he says to parents that give some books to children and tell them to read the books, and he gives ideas about the several books that children used to read in their childhood. And finally he says to parents that they have to throw away the television set from their home and install a bookshelf, and the children may beat and they may fight with children for that one, but later the children also will accept and they will start to read the book. Once they start to read the books, then they will know the joy of reading, and the same children will be thankful to the parents. So hope that it is clear. You just go through, and the television, the poem, it sharply criticizes the habit of watching television, and it promotes reading habit. Thank you. Have a nice day.